homework, and then we're going to tackle average, and we are live from Heartland Christian School on December 10th, 2019, year of our Lord. We are 2 weeks out from Christmas Eve. So let's go over page 253, I believe it was. True? Yes, 253? 7 through 22, I believe. Yeah. And here are your answers. I feel so much stronger today.
I feel so much.
Yesterday must have been the worst day. Okay, ready? 253. Isaac, pay special attention. Yesterday we were multiplying and dividing decimals. When you multiply decimals, Isaac, you don't even concern yourself with the decimal until you're done. You remember those days? And then you move the decimal point in the total number in each factor. So check out page 253. Make sure you get these done later today, Isaac. Here we go. Number 7, the answer was 5.
Wait.
If you missed it, mark it.
Number 7 was 5.
Lord, how do I see your pretty face when your back's to me instead of in your seat? So would you please say it where you're supposed to say it? The answer to number 7 was 5. The answer to number 8, do I have everybody's attention? 0.72. Number 9, negative 5.74. Number 10, 15.015. Number 11, 4. Number 12, as I look out, I see people not even paying attention to the right answers. Number 12, the answer is 70. Number 13, the answer is negative 50. Number 14, the answer is 2.5. Number 15, the answer is 1.8935. Number 16, the answer is negative 1.5. Number 17, the answer is 8.65. Number 18, the answer is 24.183. Number 19, the answer is 8.7, Zacchaeus. Yes. Just in case you might like to know the answer, to see if you did it right, number 19. Number 20, 0.0539. 21, Micah, 290.405. And 22, 1.2. Okay, you'll get further practice with multiplying and dividing decimals later. Today, we've got to keep the train rolling and talk about this word average. What do you think of when you think of average? How do you find average? Raise your hand. Let me know. Whenever you're asked to find average, what's the first thing you think of, Spencer? Adding, but there's always 2 steps to finding average. One is adding. A lot of times you have to add because you have to find the total. The other step to average and the main step is to divide. Why do I say the other step or the main step? Is because sometimes, Dominic, when you have to find average, they've already given you the total, right? So usually average is 2 steps at least. You have to add things up and then divide by how many things you added up. But sometimes, Rachel, they don't make you add them up. They already give you the total. For instance, let me give you a quick little story problem you can do in your head. Ready? Your family's going on a trip. Maybe for Christmas you're going to see a grandma or a relative. You're going to travel 500 miles. It takes you 10 hours to get there. What was your average miles per hour? Raise your hand when you get it. Don't blurt it out. A lot of times you don't have to add anything up to find average. They've already given you the total. Let me give you that simple story problem again. You're going on a trip. It's a 500-mile trip. It's going to take you 10 hours to get there. What's your average speed? LP. 50 miles per hour. Because average involves dividing the total, which you didn't have to add up, they already gave it to you, by the number of hours you were driving, right? So that's how you usually think of average. You have probably heard of other ways to find average. The one we just talked about starts with an M, and it's the opposite of nice. What kind of average do you usually think about when it's called the mean? Okay? Now, when I was younger and they called it mean, I couldn't get out of my head. Mean meant that you weren't nice, right? So sometimes just the language used in math class throws you off because you're like, you get like this thing in your head like, what? Why would they even use that word for a word like average? How does that, right? So mean, average. Does anybody know the other two M words? Median and mode. Okay? What word does mode sound like that would help us remember what kind of average mode is? There's a word that starts with the same sound that would help us to remember, hey, if I'm finding the mode average, I'm looking for the number that appears most in my list of my numbers. Like if you gave me a series of numbers, you gave me 10 numbers, I would add them up and divide by 10, right? To find the mean average. But if you gave me a list of a series of 10 numbers and I was looking for the mode, I would be looking for which number appeared the most. Is that pretty simple? Will you ever forget that?
Yes.
The mode is when you're given numbers and you're trying to find the mode average, you're looking for the number that appears the most. Does every series of numbers given to you have a mode? No. If no number repeats, there is no mode. You might get 10 numbers and none of them are the same. Therefore, the answer to the mode is none. There is no mode. Okay, that takes us to this one. And it's written in between median or mean and mode because median is the number that's in the middle. If you're driving down a road, a lot of times a boulevard, there's a strip of grass or concrete that goes down the middle, separating the traffic going either way, and we call that piece in the middle the median because median means right down the middle. So if you're giving a series of numbers, one way to find average, what you've always done, is to add them up and divide by how many numbers. Another way is to see which number appears the most, and that's your mode. The third way is to put those numbers in numerical order and then find the number that's right in the middle. How would you do that? Take the one off the top and the one off the bottom. One off the top, one off the bottom. One off the top, one off the bottom. If I was given this series of numbers, what would my median be? 4, because there's just as many numbers less than 4 as there are greater than 4. 4 is right down the middle or median. What about this? What if I was given a series of 6 numbers and I started to find my median and I went one off the top, one off the bottom, one off the top, one off the bottom. Uh-oh. If I take one off the top, one off the bottom, there's nothing left. So if I get a series of numbers and there's an even number of numbers, how would I find the median? What's right down the middle here? Okay, how did you arrive at that? Sometimes to find the median, you have to take the 2 numbers that are in the middle and find the mean of those numbers. Let me say that again. Sometimes to find the median, which we indicated was 3.5, because you have to add, when you take off each end, you end up with 2 numbers in the middle. There is no number in the middle. So you have to add those up, 7, divide it by 2, and you get 3.5. Does that make sense?
Wait, why did I?
Oh, wait. Okay. I get it.
When you're left with 2 numbers in the middle,
Address.
you find the mean.
I didn't add it.
you just knew it was 3.5, right? Because 3.5 is right between 3 and 4, right?
Yeah.
But they're not always going to be neatly, Kara. They won't always be neatly like that. You might get two numbers in the middle that end up something like this. What if those are your two numbers? After you take off the top and the bottom, you're left with these two numbers in the middle. Now tell me in your head what the median is, right? Right? You can't. So you have to add them up and divide by 2. You have to find the mean of the median sometimes. Matter of fact, it's all the time. Whenever there's an even number of digits given to you or numbers given to you, you're going to come down to 2 in the middle. And you'd have to find the mean of those 2. Everybody got it? So on page 257, right there in the middle, they explain what the 3 types of averages are. And most of the time you're finding the mean. Okay, so let's just do number 1. We're only going to do 1 at the bottom of page 257. You do it, I'll do it, see if we get the same thing. They have given us temperatures. We have to find the mean only. This should take us about 1.5 minutes. Yes? I ran out. Somebody asked me yesterday. You have now less than 1.5 minutes to finish number 1, the bottom of 257. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 temperatures given. Add them up. What are you going to divide by after you add them, Kiara?
5.
5. Very good. By the way, they've given you positive and negative. So be careful when adding. 257. Number 1 on 257. Anybody done yet?
Yes, 17.6.
No.
What? 18? How did you get
If you did not get 18 for your total, when you added those temperatures, you're not going to get the right answer. Re-add them. Figure out how it comes to 18. Listen, if I were you, here's how I would do it. You listening? I would take all the positive numbers first, add those together. So 44 plus 9. I would take that 53. Then I would add the negative numbers together, 3, 11, and 21, and that comes to 35. So I have 53 positive and 35 negative. I would combine those two together, and that's how you get 18. That's the easiest way to do it. Instead of going positive, negative, negative, positive, negative, positive, add the positives together, get a positive sum, then add your negatives together, get that negative sum. Any way you do it, you're going to get 18. So the mean, listen, we want our answer as a decimal. So what can I do here?
Add 0.
Just put a 0 on there and make it 180. Decimal point, I can NX zeros all day long. Bring down the 0. 3.6. So that took more than 1.5 minutes. Beep, turn the page. One more thing about average. The word range. When I put that list of numbers on the board earlier, making it as simple as possible, 1 through 7, what's the range of that data? True. We can give one number to describe the range of data here. Have you ever heard the song Home, Home on the Range, where the deer and the
Oh yeah, I have a word.
antelope play?
I got it right. I know.
Okay? Why is that place called a range? Because their property goes from that fence to that fence. That's their ranch, their range. That's their property from one end to the other. So what's the range in these numbers? What number would I apply to the range? Spencer said it's 1 to 7. Yeah. So what's the range? 6. Listen, the range of numbers there is 6. How do we find that? 7 minus 1. There's 6. Does that make sense? The range from one end to the other is 6, from 1 to 7. Does that make sense? No? Again, the property. He owns how much property? Well, there's one side of his property. There's the other side. He owns everything in between. Here's one end of the numbers. Here's the other end. The range is everything in between. 6. But you just put one number on it. Like, let's say, all right, you've been to a carnival or a festival or an amusement park.
Yeah.
Do they still have these? I don't know, I haven't been to one in a long time. Did they ever have those booths where you can go to and they can guess your age or your weight or your, okay. So there's someone's going to guess these things, right? And usually they'll say, you win the prize if they can't get it within 5 pounds or within 2 years or 3 years, right? Or they're going to guess your birth month and they have to be within 2 months. That's the range. They have to be within a certain range. You get it?
Yes.
Some of you are looking at me like you don't quite get it. At the top, page 258 says, the range of a data set is the difference from the greatest value to the least value. The range here is 6 because 7 minus 1 is 6. So from 1 to 7, your range is 6. What's your range from 2 to 10? Do it in your head real quick. 8. What's your range from 1 to 30?
29.
What's your range from 0 to 100?
99. 100.
100.
100.
So you take a test. What's your possible score? It could range anywhere from a to a. That's the range. Everything in between. From the greatest to the least. Go to example number 3, bottom of page 258. Since we have, ladies and gentlemen, since we have 3 different ways to find average, is one average better than the other? The answer is yes, sometimes. Let me give you an example since it's basketball season. Let's say I've got a basketball player. Let's call her Evelyn. Do you play? Let's call her Evelyn. And Evelyn plays 7 games. Here's her points total.
Every other meeting.
Oh.
Sorry, I jinxed. Oh. How do you know? One game. One. 30. That's nice. Okay.
All right.
Oh, wow.
Evelyn plays 7 games. Let's find Evelyn's average points per game. Ready? One way to do it, the most used way of doing it is how many points, and if you see the stats for a player on TV, when they say what they average per game, guess what they use? They use their mean. They add up the total number of points they've scored and divide by how many games they've played. So we got 31, 41, 43, 44, 74 points in 7 games. Let's do some quick math. That means she averages 10 and 4/7, right? she averages about 10.6 points per game, according to the mean. So we don't have to do all the math, I'm just giving you an estimate. 10.6, right? What would be her median? The median of this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 10, 28, and 30. Let's start getting to the middle.
Three.
Okay. See the big difference? One of her averages says she averages 10.6 points per game. Another one of her averages says she averages 3 points per game. What's her mode? Is there one?
No.
Okay, so there's none that appears the most. So my question to you, and what example 3 is talking about on page 258 is, which one of these best represents Evelyn's average per game? Is it 10.6 or is it 3? Raise your hand and you have to give me a reasonable explanation why that best represents Evelyn's average. Noah,
10.6,
why?
because, like, you could have two ones in the center, but have, or on the top, and then have, 400s after it, and the center one's still the same. Like, if you could have 2 ones on the top and 200s on the bottom, and then, the number in the center is gonna still be the same, whether if it's.
Okay, I think it sounds like you're saying that even if she has a really low number to really high number, it's going to average. It sounds like you're making an argument that mean average is the best way always.
No, I'm saying this or that.
Maybe it's best explained by saying why mode or why median would not be a good representation of her average. Is there a reason why the median would not be a good representation?
Okay, so you could have a lot of different numbers, and you could have zeros, a whole bunch of zeros, and you could have hundreds, and it wouldn't actually be that. You had a whole bunch of zeros, and then a couple in between, and then a zero again. You could accidentally get the zero as your. Couldn't you? Wait, no.
As your mode?
Yeah.
Let's put it this way. As you're thinking about this, Elise,
You could have,
what does the word average mean? Take math out of it for a second. What does the word average mean in your brain? When someone says average, raise your hand. What does the word average mean? David.
the middle, everything.
So he thinks of the word middle when he thinks of average. What do you think of?
Mediocre.
Mediocre.
Normal.
Normal.
Like most of the time.
Most of the time, okay. So we got middle, it's almost like median. Most of the time, it's almost like mode. Mediocre means it's not good or bad. Normal. Listen, what would you normally expect Evelyn to score? Which one best represents? You go to a game, and Evelyn's playing. Based on how she's done so far through the year, would you more likely expect her to score just 3 points or close to 10? What would be more likely you would expect out of Evelyn? Knowing she's capable of scoring 30, and then on a bad day she had 0, would you expect if you went to watch her that she was only going to score 3 points? When in 2 of her games out of 7, she scored over 25 points. Does that make sense? So in this case, I think we should all agree that 10.6, even though it's not the perfect representation of her average game, 3 isn't. Right? You with me? Okay, that's what example 3 is about. So let's dive in. How much time we got?
20 minutes.
I think we have.
Get out at 10:30. 15.
Okay,
34.
let's start with number 1. You don't have to start writing yet. Ready? Page 259.
Wait,
Number one, raise your hand, answer these verbally with me. Ready? The blank is 8 in that set of numbers. 6, 12, 4, 15, 10, 6, 2, and 9. What if take those numbers, 2, 4, 6, 9, 10, 12, and 15. There's 3, we're looking for 3 words, mean, mode, and median. Which one is 8? I'm sorry, mean, mode, and range. Which one is 8? Well, let's start with this. For those of you that are adding them up and dividing, you don't have to do that. You're only looking for 3 words. I've already given them to you, so don't worry about median. Mean, mode, and range. Which one has to be the mode? Let's start there. Let's start with number 2. I just gave it away.
Yeah.
Okay, 6 has to be the mode because it appears the most, right? And 13 doesn't even appear. But if you look at the least number 2 and the highest number 15, what's the difference in those two numbers? 13. So number 3 is the range. That means 8 must be the mean. We don't even have to add them up and divide. Got it? Okay, you didn't have to write that anyway. Number 4. Now you do have to write it. Number 4. Find all 3. Mean, median, and mode. And if you can do numbers 4 and 5, I'll feel confident.
Is that our homework?
No. I'm making sure you can do it right now. By the way, when I rewrite these numbers on the board, and as you rewrite them on the paper, please do not rewrite the numbers on your paper as they're written in the book. What should be your strategy, Bella? Write them from least to greatest. That way, when it comes to median, you just go boom, you just pick them off. Ready? So I'm going to start with, my eyes are focused. I take it that's 11.13 and not 11,13. If you did not rewrite those numbers in the book like that, my question would be, why not? And if you didn't, you probably should, because it's going to make life so easy on you. Rewrite them, lining up your decimal points. Now they're ready-made to be added and then divided by 5. And they're also ready-made, since you've written them in numerical order, they're ready to be picked off to find the median. And of course, the mode is the one that appears the most. That's the easiest one to spot. So when I add these up, add wrong.
I got like 43.40.
15, 23, 26, 30. 18, 27, 28, 30.
Yeah, that's what I got. 44.
3, 6, 14, 22. Oh,
Yeah, 20, yeah.
so your mean average is 8.8. Your median, based on writing them in order, is 8.98. And that just happens to also be your mode, 8.98. Has everybody got that? Okay, when you do number 5, they're all negative. Are they not?
Yeah.
So if they're all negative, you don't even have to worry about separating the positives and the negatives. Just add up all the numbers and keep it negative. And when you divide by 6, your answer is going to be, your average will be negative. When you find the mode, there's only one number that appears more than once, negative 56. And when you find the median, you're going to rewrite those numbers starting with the least or greatest, negative 71, in order down to negative 44.
Like,
You're going to
oh yeah.
You're going to find something very interesting. Oh, we didn't find the range of these numbers. You're supposed to find the range also. So the range here is 11.24 minus 3.67. The range for number 4, you find by subtracting the least from the greatest. $7.57. Number 5, the range is taking negative 71 minus negative 44. What's the difference between negative 71 and negative 44?
Negative.
So you'll find something interesting when you do number 5. Guess what's going to happen? If you didn't get this, then you got to redo it. Your mean, median, and mode are all going to be the same. If you didn't get the same in number 5, if you didn't get the same answer for your mean, mode, and median, you did something wrong. Has anybody done? What answer is that, David? Negative 56. You should have gotten negative 56 when you added them up and divided. You should have gotten negative 56 for the one that appears the most, and you should have gotten negative 56 for your median when you started picking them off top and bottom. Your range, though, is negative 71 minus negative 41. And remember, find the difference. Or add the opposite. What?
Isn't it 44?
It is 44.
Making all kind of mistakes there. 44. So your range is going to be 27. The difference between negative 71 and negative 44 is 27. Okay, your homework is 8 through
9.
Hey, we got to go through 14 because it's baseball. Sorry. You can't leave out a baseball question.
8 through 14?
Yep.
You just make it 8 through 10 and then number 14.
8 through 14, Kira. Claire case. You're not here tomorrow?
I will be
Oh. Can you see me later? Say hi to.
Hi, Johnny.
Hey, Jules.
Sawyer, Johnny, Julia. The pre-algebra class says hello.
Yeah, you can't even hear us.
Johnny, you need a haircut. Johnny, you need another haircut. Hi, Julia.
Any background noise?
There's not, you can't really.
Ooh.
Can I do the outro?